So make sure you are eliminating distractions that will stop you from doing what it is that you need to be done.
Then it's definitely the cell phone. It's the notifications. It's the dings. It's the lights. It's the blings.
Because you get burnt out when you have everything on you. So learning to say no is a very, very, very good thing. And it was some boots. And I was like, ooh, and there I was. And I'm clicking and I'm scrolling and maybe about like 50 boots in, right? I'm like, where are you going?
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jori O'Neale and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world.
We are live on the YouTube. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another lovely episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things encouraging, motivating, and inspirational. With your girls, Nicole Salter and Jori O'Neale. Listen, people, we started something that we got to finish, because that's what we do this year. We finish what we start. Last time we were together with Nicole, we started top 10 lists, and we only got through number 5. That's not right, Nicole. That's not right. We got to get to the rest of the numbers. So here's what we're going to do. Nicole's going to run us through 6 through 10. And on the way, I'm going to share some things. There's been some new developments in the universe. And so we're going to share some stuff. We're going to give y'all some encouragement. Wanted to go live here on the YouTube. I haven't been live in a while. I'm trying to shift my identity from 9-to-5er to entrepreneur, full-fledged, full-time, and it's pushing me out of my comfort zone and causing me to expand and grow in ways that are necessary. And so we're going to finish that top 10 list. Nicole, where did we leave off? What was our last number? Number 5 was what exactly? Let's do a little recap. Do recap 1 through 5, and then we're going to jump in 6 to 10. Let's do it.
So the recap 1 through 5. The first thing was prioritize your task, right? Make sure that you're writing things down and you're putting things in order from the one you want to focus on the most to the one that doesn't really matter much. Break it down. Accomplish things in small chunks, right? You don't have to build a whole house in one day. You can start by just pouring the slab and then moving on down the list. Set a clear goal. Know exactly what you want to accomplish in the future and right now. So make sure you have everything broken down. Set your clear goals. Eliminate distractions. If you know you got laundry and socks all over the place and towels to wash and dishes to clean and food to cook, figure out which one is more important, right? You want to eliminate all of the distractions. Do you want to sit down and focus on your book for an hour? Or maybe an hour is too long. Maybe you want to focus on your book for 30 minutes, then go do laundry. Focus on your book for another 30 minutes, then put some rice on the stove to boil. Focus on your book for 10 minutes, go and check the rice, right? So make sure you are eliminating distractions that will stop you from doing what it is that you need to be done. Use a timer, and that goes into eliminate distractions, right? Set your timer up. If you only have 30 minutes, do that 30-minute task and then go do something else. Do that 10-minute task and then go do something else. I'm the type of person that cannot sit still. And because I cannot sit still, I have a stand-up desk where I do my 30 minutes and then I run downstairs and I get some water or I make some coffee. I do my 10 minutes and then I pick up some clothes that's on the bathroom floor. I do my 10 minutes and then I go and see what toys my children left out, right? I can't sit still for too long. Sitting in front of a computer all day drives me nuts. And so using a timer, and my timer is Alexa, and she is very good at her job because she rings through the whole entire house. And so if I say, hey, remind me to do laundry in 10 minutes, she will ring in every room of the house and say, Nicole, here's your reminder. Go do laundry. Right? She is Great. She's fantastic once you learn how to use her to benefit yourself. And so here we are at number 6. Practice mindfulness. Bring attention to the task that you have to complete so that your mind doesn't wander. Now, I'll give you a short story. This morning, I was checking up on all of my clients, seeing who I need to talk to, seeing who I haven't spoken to in a while, seeing who closed recently, who I need to say, hey, congratulations on your new house. If you need anything, I'm here for you. And I also send out emails that gives them tips on how to maintain their new house, right? And I saw on the side of my screen, there was like an ad and it was some boots. And I was like, ooh, and there I was. And I'm clicking and I'm scrolling and maybe about like 50 boots in, right? I'm like, where are you going? Go back and finish what you were doing. So you have to make sure, and that's one of those distractions that I deal with. But you have to make sure that you are keeping your task in front of you. Try and eliminate those ads that pop up all the time. Sometimes it's impossible to eliminate ads, especially when you're dealing with free products, right? But you can try your hardest to eliminate those things, even if it means that you have to write down what you have to do. So that way, when you get distracted, after you look at the 50th pair of boots, right? You say, hello, what are we doing? You go back to the paper. Oh, yes, this is what we're doing. There's no, oh man, I don't remember what we're doing. I done forgot what I was focused on. What do I do now? All right, let me go back to the distraction. No, let's cut that out. We're going to write down whatever it is that we have to pay attention to right now so that our mind can stay on it and we can check it off the box and say, done, good and faithful servant, and move on.
Before you go to number 7, I wanna
Before I go to
get some
number 7.
practicals. I want to get some practicals.
Okay.
So a lot of people, it's just a fact. A lot of people, they have an asphyxiation with this thing called the cell phone. Um, and if it's not the screen, if it's not the computer screen, if it's not 75 things popping up, then it's definitely the cell phone. It's the notifications, it's the
Yep.
dings, it's the lights, it's the blings, it's the if it doesn't matter what phone you have. I have an Android. Every
Uh,
phone has a focus mode.
yep.
That focus mode is gold. If you set that focus mode up between a certain time, you will not get notifications. You will not get the lights. You will not get the dings and the blings. You can't even go on the app during that focus mode time. So even if you wanted to be like, oh, what's on Facebook? You can't even go on there. You got to take focus mode off and they're going to ask you 75 different prompts. Are you sure you want to do this? How long do you want to do this for? How about only for 5 minutes? Do you only want to open this app? What about the other apps that you close? All of those are to help you stay focused.
Okay.
There is a way to stay focused if you use and utilize technology properly. That's all I'm going to say. That's it. And that's all.
You are absolutely correct. There are distractions come in many different forms. I'm actually shocked my children haven't run into the room that I'm in right now because I did not lock the door. So distractions are always around, no matter how much you try to avoid it, how much you try to prepare for it, they are always there. So you definitely have to make sure that you are cutting them out as much as possible and staying focused on your task, right? Number 7 is limit multitasking. Now, this is very hard for me because, again, I like to move around. I'm not the type of person that just sits in one place, right? And so switching between tasks is how I get my task done. But I'll tell you this, it'll take me 3 hours to get my task done because I have to do it in 30-minute chunks. It'll take you, someone that likes to sit in front of a computer for an hour and just focus, it'll take you an hour to finish that project. Whichever one is for you, it's for you. None of them are wrong. You just have to make sure you choose the right method and do it effectively. If switching between tasks is something that's going to keep you awake, help you stay focused, get smaller chunks done, and make sure that by the end of it, you have the big goal completed, then that's great. If focusing on something for a long period of time until you finish it is for you, guess what? That's great because you are finding yourself, you are doing what is best for you, right? Me, the only time I can focus my energy on completing one thing before I move to the next is if I'm cleaning. When I am cleaning my house, I focus my energy on one room at a time. And even when I go into that room, if I don't want to do it, it is very hard. So I focus my energy on picking up one thing at a time or cleaning one corner at a time.
So there's a lot of brain science behind multitasking. So I would say do the thing that is most effective and efficient for the whole day, for the whole family. That's what I would say. Um, Today I was a work from home day. I had to be on meetings this morning. I wake up about 5 in the morning. The initial task, the icebreaker was, what did you do this morning? How's your morning been? What did you uh and people were like, "Oh, I got the kids ready and I made coffee and then I turned on my computer." And they're like, "What did you do, Jory?" And I'm like, "I don't want to tell you what I did because I don't know, but I'll go for it." And so I told them what I did. I said I woke up at 5. I had my prayer. I had my meditation. I read the Bible. I finished Genesis, moved into Exodus, got a little bit of Leviticus in, read Psalms. I did my exercise, 20 minutes of exercise, used upper body today. I told them everything I did before 8 o'clock, before this 8 o'clock meeting. I turned on my phone. I have my LinkedIn app is allowed to come on until I think 8 or 9. And then after that, it shuts off. For me, that's my focus time. That's high energy, high performance. Like, woo, that's the sacred time right there. Was about February. And for some of you who don't know, if this is your first time checking us out on YouTube, I have just resigned from my full-time teaching job. I'm going full-time entrepreneur. So writing, speaking, coaching, consulting, all the good things. And so there was nothing for me to contribute to this meeting about what's happening in February because I'm like, I'm not going to be working there in February. I was like, oh man, it's only 2 o'clock. Feels like 7 p.m. at night. Oh man, 7 p.m. at night. We doing 30 minutes about so I might need a nap in this piece. It is not beneficial for me to do the shifting back and forth, this screen, that screen going. It's not. I love doing deep work, deep focused work, get it done, get it over with. Tried the multitasking thing today. It
Wasn't it?
wasn't because I'm not doing like menial tasks. Like I'm not doing email or you know what I mean? Like I'm creating offers. I'm sifting through data to figure out like which of my offers are the most profitable. Where should I pivot in my business? Where should I shift? What's my revenue looking like so far this month? What do I need to do to hit my monthly goal? Like I actually have to think and like think hard and forecast and all this stuff. I can't do that back. It hurts. So I think I would preface multitasking with it depends on what the activity is. Like if I'm folding clothes, I will put on a podcast or listen to an audiobook or even watch a show, right? Because it's folding clothes. It's not right. It's not a large mental load that I
Right,
need. It's
right.
not a big lift. But things that are just like we just putting this here, putting this there, like almost like memorization. I guess that would technically be multitasking, or maybe it's habit stacking. Habit stacking.
Could be
That's a whole nother conversation. Let's go ahead, girl. Number 8. Go ahead. Habit stacking. Oh, I love that.
We are now up to celebrating the small wins. And so this I had to learn because I am not used to celebrating myself. And it took me a long time as a real estate agent to celebrate myself and a closing. It took me a long time to learn how to celebrate that. After finally getting it, it was like, oh, this is what it feels like, and then I was able to acknowledge what I did in order to get to that space. I was also able to um motivate myself, keep doing the things that I did for me to get the clients and keep the clients happy and make sure that the clients were comfortable with working with me, make sure that they gained my trust, then I had to figure out what to do to get them to refer me. And so celebrating myself gave me that time to reflect on those things so that I can keep going. So make sure you're celebrating yourself. Make sure you're celebrating the small wins that you have, whether it's cleaning a room, getting a new client, finishing up a project, whatever it is. Make sure you celebrate yourself. Number 9, set boundaries. This is very hard for me. I am not good at saying no. Saying no to additional tasks that can interfere with your focus is a good thing. Delegating tasks to people that work for you, people that are around you, is a good thing. Being a part of the PTA, I had to learn how to do those things because I did not know how to do them. And so my second year around, I was like, you know what? This is what you wanted to do. When you said you wanted to be a part of the PTA with us, you said you wanted to do volunteers. Guess what? You are in control of all of the volunteers. I am not touching them. Do not ask me any questions. If you need me to volunteer, I'll see if I'm available. But I'm not scheduling it. I'm not hosting it. I'm not doing it. I had to give it to someone else because you get burnt out when you have everything on you. So learning to say no is a very, very, very good thing.
I'm saying that out loud because I want you to hear it because I feel like sometimes you have a no and then you have this soliloquy at the end of the no that explains all the reasons why the person shouldn't hate you, shouldn't like you any less, shouldn't defriend you, right? Like, but no is fine. No one needs an explanation. Sometimes it's more energy, and sometimes that is also encroaching your boundary. Boundaries are super important. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, I got a invite for your kid's birthday, but there's a different number than yours." I was like, "Yeah," because she sent the invite to people who I don't need my real number to get to. Like, I'm not. Everybody don't need my number. And so I was like, "Yeah, that's the business number." She's like, "Oh, well, you screening your calls?" Absolutely. I am not yet where I desire to be financially, but I'm putting the pieces in place now so that when I am, it's not new. Like, I'm not new to this. Like, we've been moving like this. This is not new. These movements are not new. So things that I'm doing now, the things that I consume, things I read, places I'm not going anymore. I think that should probably be number 11. I don't know what number 10 is, but number 11 should be start moving in the energy that you want to live in. Like, if you wait until, oh, after I get more money or after I get more time or after I lose this weight, like, when you think that's going to happen? So none of that's going to happen. Like, none of that's going to come to pass if you don't move and make it happen. And if you don't start living like it, when it does come, you ain't gonna know what to do with it.
I don't know how many people will be equipped if they do not practice it now. And that's the important part. The important part is making sure that you practice those things now instead of later. Like I met someone at a birthday party that Christopher was invited to, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited. My husband, when he first started, he was, when he's a pilot." And she said when he first started, he was on probation, and after his probation is up, he's going to get triple his salary. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that is so great." Two things happened right in that very moment. The first thing that happened was she was like, "Thank you for being happy for me." And I was like, "Oh, what kind of friends you got?" And then the second thing that happened was she was like, "I don't know what to do with all of that money. I don't even know how I'm going to feel. I don't know how I'm going to react." And I was like, "Ooh, we need some new habits." Right? Because when we start to think that way, we start to think, what can I buy? Where can I go? What can I get? Right? And your mind can be the hardest thing to keep in check because everywhere we go, we see the shine and we see the stars and we see the bling. And it's like, I want this and I want that. And I all the time. And I don't think I realized it until I had gotten upset at my kids one day because they just kept saying, I want, I want, I want, I want. And then I went on my computer and that little shiny ad was popping, right? And I was like, "Ooh, I want." Oh, I don't want. I need to stop. Right? Because we always want the shiny things. We always want what's new and what's available. And this Christmas, my daughter says, Mommy, I want a pair of Jordans because she's in the third grade and people are like, You don't have Jordans? And I said, All right, once a year, I can figure out how to get you Jordans, right? You won't get this year's Jordans. Just know that. They might be Jordans from 7 years ago, 10 years ago. They'll be Jordans. You'll be happy. My limit on Jordans for my children is $50. That's it. If it's any more than that, it's not happening. You're not getting it. My limit for myself on Jordans is $50. Now Jamel got boats, right? He don't have feet. He got boats. His limit is a little higher. Sneakers is something they need. Jordans is a want. Sneakers is a need, right? We'll figure out how to make them come together and how to make them fit in the budget, right? And that is something, even if you win lotto for $1 billion today, you still have to know your budget because, honey, that $1 million or that $1 billion can go very quickly. And you will turn around
that
and be
billion gonna
like,
turn
what
into
happened?
1,000. That billion gonna turn into 1,000 real quick.
And I have seen it happen, sadly. You definitely have to make sure that you set those boundaries and you keep to your budget. I don't know how we got on budget, but you definitely have to make sure
Maybe
that
that
you're
should become
setting
a
those
12.
boundaries, not stressing yourself out, not being the only one that does everything. And finally, we are at number 10. Number 10 is reflect and adjust. We all make mistakes. Nothing, nothing ever goes as planned, right? The saying is, we plan and God laughs. Right? We can plan. I mean, even my wedding, right? I had the most awesome wedding planner. We planned it down to the day. And I can list 10 things that went wrong at my wedding, and it was over 15 years ago. Okay. Things will always go wrong. What do we do? Do we freak out? Do we quit? Do we stop? No, you reflect on what happened and you adjust to it. You don't just throw it in the garbage. You figure out how to fix it so that you can move on the next day. You can move on the next week, the next month, the next year. You figure out how you can make yourself better. Being an entrepreneur is not easy. I remember when I first became a realtor and I was driving for about an hour and a half, and I would come home, and that was one way. So I'm driving an hour and a half one way, and then I got to drive an hour and a half back home, and I got to deal with kids, and I got to deal with parents, and I got to deal with a husband. And not that those things are stressful, but when you're already stressed up to here, those things are stressful. Okay. um it's hard when you have to do all of those things. And so I would come home and I would cry. I would cry to my partner and I would cry to myself and I would cry to my mom. I didn't cry to my husband because I didn't want him to know how I was feeling so that he can tell me don't do it anymore, just so that I can be happy, right? I needed to learn how to work with it. And so I decided, listen, I'm going to deal with only working in my area for now. And that means that I'll be going out less, I'll be meeting less people, but it was the best decision I ever made for myself. Reflecting on how much time and gas and wear and tear on my car it took made me realize that if I stayed home, I'd be saving the money that I was spending to try and meet people, and the people that I was meeting weren't even ready to buy a house. Do I really want to drive all the way across town? No. If I don't drive across town, what am I going to do here? I had to adjust myself to make more phone calls, be more bold. I am not the type of person that will go to a grocery store and just start talking to you and asking you if you want to buy a house. No. When I go to the grocery store, I want to shop and I want to go home. That's it. I don't want to talk. I don't want you talking to me and asking me if I need ADT or if I need to buy a house or if I need insurance or if I need. No, I need whatever is in this aisle, or I'm walking through this aisle because there was too many people in the next aisle. And so what I did to get away from that is I started making T-shirts and sweatshirts that had different real estate sayings on them. And when I'm ready, I print them out and I make a new shirt. And so when you see me, you see my shirt. You look at my shirt and you say, "Oh, you're a realtor. Oh, it's working." Yes, I am. Right. So I had to reflect and adjust on what it is that suited my life in order for me to be peaceful and be happy. And if you don't reflect and adjust your life to what will keep you peaceful and happy, you will always be miserable. You know what? It's a lifestyle change, right? We are always going through something. We did watch a little bit of Walking Dead, and I said to him, "How come we never really got into the follow-up series that they had for everyone else?" And he says, "How many times are you going to watch these people chasing vampires and dead people? How many times are we going to see them fighting other folks so that they can live? How many times are we going to see them being in survival mode, right?" So starting a business, you are always going to have something that throws you off course. What are you going to do to get back on course? You're going to reflect and you're going to adjust. That might have been the most important one out of them all.
I think so. You said something just now about the vampire zombie people. You said that most of the show is them in survival mode. And I think that's how most of us spend most of our lives,
We do.
in survival mode. And when we're trying or when we're pushed or when we have to come out of survival mode and start expanding, start growing, start thriving, it is so uncomfortable. It feels like shedding skin. It feels like butterfly metamorphosis, snake coming out of the old, stepping into the new. It feels unnatural, like pouring new wine into old wineskins. Like, I can give you a whole bunch of biblical examples.
It is all of those things because when you do all of those things, you're getting better. When a snake sheds its skin, it's old skin that's leaving, right? You getting rid of the dead weight. You getting rid of the old stuff so that the new can take over. And that
Mm,
is a process that will constantly happen in your life. If you are not losing old skin, it's a problem. Nothing is changing.
mm,
You're not going anywhere. I forget the name of the person, but I'm going to use you as an example. It said Jory did not fail 10 times. She learned how to win 10 different ways. Jory did not fail 10 times. She learned how to win 10 different ways. The only time you fail is when you give up.
mm,
The only time you fail is when you give up. That is not a fail. That is a move. You are moving in another direction. You are not giving up on your dreams. You are not giving up on your goals, but you are dropping the dead weight. You are shedding the skin that was holding you back, and you are
mm. Ooh, girl,
forward
what a
to make
word.
life happen.
Ooh, what a word,
So
Nicole. What
those
a
things are
word.
supposed to happen. And I like the word that you used. It gives you that icky feeling. Guess what? That icky feeling lets you know that you're that much closer to where you want to be. Right? And our
Mm,
goals always switch. We have a 10K a month goal. We ain't gonna have that goal next year because once we hit that goal, especially when and notice I'm saying once we hit and when we hit, right? That your mindset is a big thing. When you start letting those ifs come in, that's when you start feeling like it's time to quit, right? But when you change the words that you You change your attitude, you change your posture, you change the way you move. And so when we hit our goals, they're not going to stay where they are, especially when we hit them consistently. When we start to hit those goals consistently, it's going to be like, oh, we've been here for a minute. It's time to learn something new.
It's
It's
time to
time
go,
to
it's
talk
time
to
to go
new
to
people.
50 a
It's
month.
time to go higher.
Time to
You
go to
know?
50 a month. We gonna skip 25. Let's just go to 50.
Exactly. Exactly. So that icky feeling, that's something that you need to get used to because that means it's coming. It's happening. I'm moving, I'm shaking, I'm making it work. Right now, this is my very first time doing a deal where I am helping my clients not only buy a house, but fix it up at the same time. And so we
About
start
time.
the whole
About time. You
process.
are a dope house flipper. I'm like, what? This makes so much sense. Like this is all in your lane.
It is. It is. And I mean, the things that I learned, the things that we do, it is just phenomenal. Like talking with, I met an architect. I've met so many people along the way. I met an engineer, which I mean, first starting, I didn't think I would ever meet an engineer. I met an engineer and he was from Jamaica. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to have dinner because you need to come and speak to my son. My son wants to be an engineer and I need you to pour into his life. That is on the to-do list for him to pour into their lives, right? I make sure my icky feeling does not hinder me, but it makes me go and learn what I need to learn to stay in the game.
Woo!
Woo!
We said a lot.
He did.
This is good. This is good. I was feeling icky when I got on the call. I can't say I still don't feel icky, but the icky has been now replaced with hope. So I feel icky hopeful.
Hopefully icky.
Hopefully icky, yes. That's where I am right now. If we're not dying, then we're not growing.
If we're
That's
not,
something that a mentor of mine used to tell me 20 years ago. And this was in reference to when God was calling us higher, when God was calling us into abundance, when God was calling us to greater territory, to positions of leadership. She would say, if you're not dying, you're not growing. And I think in this instance, dying is dying to those old habits, those old mindsets, and maybe even some of the old relationships.
more than ever now, do I realize how important relationships are because relationships can definitely make a big difference in your life. They can bring you up or they can pull you down. And when I said when I was celebrating this woman at this party, this was my first day meeting her. I did not know her name. Um, I kind of figured out who her child was because she kept coming up and asking for praises. So I figured out who her child was, but this was my very first time seeing her. And I was rejoicing with her. And the rejoice, it had nothing to do with me. She wasn't paying me. We weren't friends. She wasn't giving any money to me to be happy for her. And when I said, oh my goodness, that is great, she looked at me like, why are you so happy?
I'm going through a list of humans right now and just seeing my what my relationships were like last year, seeing how I felt after I spent time with them. Did I feel drained? Did I feel energized? Was it reciprocal, right? Was I always pouring into them? Was there a point where they poured into me? At the end of the interaction, did I feel used?
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, I'm not liking what I'm coming up with. I'm not liking the responses that I'm getting. And this is just an internal audit. Like I'm doing a friendship audit end of the year. And I'm like, dang, I'm running out of friends. Like I thought I
It,
had a pretty decent network of humans, but even when I share my plans, when I share my vision, when I share my goals, the response, it's almost like projection. They are projecting their fears, their insecurities, their doubts. they're projecting, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, no, you keep that over there. I don't want none of that. Blah, blah, blah. Like I'm blocking the doubts. So now I'm just like, I tread lightly, like how's it going? It's going great. I'm not telling you no details. No, no, no. Mm-mm. Not gonna happen to me again. No, no way.
I
Uh,
mean, you have to. You definitely have to make sure that you are protecting your mind, right? Because that's how the devil works. My real estate partner, anytime he does something, I say to him, okay, I like the fact that you want to do this. Don't make a haste decision. Sleep on it. And so one morning he said, you know what? This is what I'd like to do. And I said, are you sure? Because we had this conversation and that wasn't where your head was before. That wasn't what you thought benefited your life yesterday. And he said, you know what? I slept on it. I spoke to my wife about it. She's in agreement with me. And this is how we want to move. And I said, you know what? If you slept on it and your wife is in agreement with you, then you go for it. It's a lot of people watching you. It's a lot of people watching you. Got to be careful with what you're saying. You got to be careful with how you're saying. I understand you are upset. You drove for 2 hours. They stood you up. They didn't show up. I get it. I understand truly because we're in the same business. I get it. But here's the thing. You can't harp on the negative that's in it. There's people that are upset with us because of the different things that we're doing. And he's like, oh, I want to go on Facebook and I want to talk about them. And I said, listen, your growth and your positivity and your movement and the love that you show on Facebook will piss them off.
mm,
You don't have to give in to them. You don't have to talk to them. You keep being your successful self and
amen.
will get them upset by itself.
Bible says, by doing good deeds for people who treat you wrong, throwing heaps of hot coals on their head.
And that is so true. Because the more good that you do, the worse they feel and the more they want to come and try and get you to the point where you do enough good and they back off.
I was watching during the LinkedIn session I had this morning when I was applying for some consultant gigs. There was a video that played where this man was on the bus reading the Bible and had a sign that said Jesus loves you. And this young guy grabbed the sign and threw it on the ground and started yelling and cursing at the man. And the man just picked up the sign and the young man knocked it out of his hand again. Man picked up the sign again and started reading the Bible and started telling the young man, like, God loves you. And he's like, no, there's no God. He says, there's a God and God loves you so much. And the young man smacked him across his face. And this old man, he turns and he says, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You do me wrong. My response is to turn the other cheek. He says, now bless the right one. He turns his head for the young man to smack him on the other side of his face. And at this point, the other people, they're on a public bus. The other people stand up like, hold on. Like, don't hit that man.
Mhm,
And the old man, he's just like, hit me. He's like, you bless me on one side. You gotta bless me on the other. And
mhm,
the young man sits down and he's looking at him like, this guy's crazy. I don't know. Something's wrong with this guy. And the old man stands the young man up, grabs his shoulder, and says, hit me. I need you to hit me. He says, because I can take the pain. Because Jesus took the pain. Jesus took the pain for you and for you. He goes around the bus and he's saying, Jesus took the pain for everybody. He's like, so your hit, your smack is nothing compared to what Jesus does for you. And Jesus loves you so much. And the young man finally broke down. He started telling them about how he was praying to God for his grandfather's health and his grandfather to make it and how he just feels like God abandoned him. And it led to a whole discourse. And again, the man was holding the Bible open the entire time. And he sat down with him and started showing him the word of God.
Right.
I feel like the more financial status I have, right, the more good I can do in the world. Like I wholeheartedly believe that, but I don't want to get lost along the way. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Right.
want to throw away my morals and my values or forget why I'm here, what I was
Mhm.
positioned to do.
Right.
I I think I'm a pretty dope writer. I don't write about Jesus. I don't write about God. I don't write about self improvement and self development and self help. And I don't write about those things because I can't write about anything else. I write about those things because for me, those are the only things that matter. Part of the ickies I'm feeling are trying to take these two identities. I have boiled down all the other stuff. Like we've got rid of teacher. We've put a backseat to the mama. Like all these, none of these other identities are really like competing with me right now, except entrepreneur and Christian. And I'm really, it's a tough task in my brain right now to just like
Hmm.
marry them and make them make sense where I am putting myself out there, but I'm not turning people off from Jesus. So those of you who are listening right now, what is your opinion? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear some feedback, some input concerning what identity do you have right now, or what identity are you operating in that you feel is in conflict with your future you, right? Like the glow up you. People using that phrase a lot, glow up. Do you feel like your current identity is in conflict with your future identity? I would love to hear from you, know the answer to that question. And I want to thank those of you who've been rocking out with us for the last 2 years and just say thank you. There are a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different shows on the internet, and there are a lot of different spaces and places you can give your time to. And the fact that you rock with us, we are grateful. We don't take that for granted. But if you believe that this podcast has in any way, shape, or form helped you along your journey to be encouraged, motivated, and inspired to take action, to be an empowered person, to use your power to empower others, please share it with another human. We love to hear back from you. Go ahead and review us on Spotify, on Apple, or whichever platform you listen to podcasts on. And pretty please go ahead and keep subscribing to the channel. We love to see the channel grow. We've grown by a quarter since the beginning of this year. So that's been super encouraging. We've almost doubled our subscriber count. And again, we couldn't do that without you. So as we land the plane, Nicole, give us one last parting word before we wrap it up.
Remember to always keep your mind focused on your goals. Keep your mind focused on your goals. Keep your goals at the forefront. Do them joyfully. Do your tasks unto God, and it will work out. It will all fall into place. I think the most important thing that we said tonight was make sure that you are reflecting and adjusting, because life is always going to throw you a curveball. And if you don't know how to reflect and adjust, you will break down. Reflect, adjust, and make it happen. Nicole Salter, Jori O'Neale. It's supposed to be 30 minutes of power, but we were definitely here feeding you guys all of this info for a lot longer. We love you. We thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.